Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Verse 26. Mukta Sango Naham Vadi Tritya Utsaha Samanvitaha Siddhiya Siddhyur Nibir Karaha Karta Satvika Uchyate.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
Ragi Karma Phala Prepsur Lubdo Himsatmako Suchihi Harsha Sokanvita Karta Rajasaha Prakirkitaha.
The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion.
Verse 28. Ayukta prakarteha sabdha sato neshkritiko lasaha visadi dirga sutri cha karta tamasa uchyate.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
Verse 29. Buddhir bedam driteshcheva gunatastri vidim shinu prochamanam asheshena pratiktvena dhananjaya.
O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature.
Verse 30. Pravirtim cha nivirtim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yaveti buddhi sa partha satviki.
O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness.
Verse 31. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha ayatvat prajanati buddhi sa partha rajasi.
O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion.
Verse 32. Adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasavrata savartham vipartamscha buddhi sa partha tamasi.
That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance.
Verse 33. Dhratyayaya dharayate mana pranendriya kriya yogena va bicharanya dhrita sa partha satviki.
O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness.
Verse 34. Yaya tu dharma kamarthan dhatya dharyate arjuna prasangena phalankakshi dhrita sa partha rajasi.
But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion. Oh, Arjuna.
Verse 35. Yaya svapnam bhayam shokam visadam madameva cha na vimunchati dhurmedha dhriti sa partha tamasi.
And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness.
Verse 36. Sukham tava idanim trividhim shinu me bharata sabha abhyasadramate yatra dukhatam cha nigachati.
O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
Verse 37. Yattadagre visham eva parinam ritapopamam tatsukham satvikam proktam atma bhuti prasadajam.
That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness.
Verse 38. Vishayendriya samyogat yattadagre mritopamam parinam visham eva tatsukham rajasam shmitam.
That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
Verse 39. Yadagre chanubhande cha sukham mohanam atmanaha nidalasya pramodotham tatamasam udharatam.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance.
Verse 40. Na tadasti prithivyam va divi devashu va punaha satvam prakritir jair muktam yadevi syatribhir gunehe.
There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary system, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature.
Verse 41. Brahmana kshatriya visham shudranam cha parantapa karmani pravibhaktani svabhava prabhaver gunehe.
Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes. O chastiser of enemy!
Verse 42. Samodamastapasocham kshantir arjavamev cha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma sabhavajam.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
Verse 43. Suryam tejo dhriti daksham yude chapi apalyanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma sabhavajam.
Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas.
Verse 44. Krishi goraksha vanijam vesha karma sabhavajam parichartyamakam karma sudrasyapi sabhavajam.
Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras, there are labor and service to others.
Verse 45. Sve sve karmani abhirratha samsiddhim labate naraha svakarmani rata siddhim yatha vindati takchanu.
By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done.
Verse 46. Yatha pravirtir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam svakarmana tamabhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha.
By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
Verse 47. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svananistat svabhavaneyatam karma kurvarnapnoti kilibisham.
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
Verse 48. Sahajam karma konteya sadoshamapi natyajet sarvarbhama hi doshena dhumenagnir ivavritaha.
Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault.
Verse 49. Ashakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriyaha nishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena digacchati.
One who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction.
Verse 50. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tatapnotni nibodhame shamasneva konteya nistagyanasya ya para.
O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent recitation. Gita Mataji, very, very nice, very fluent. So nice to hear so many of you reciting the Sanskrit so nicely now. So thank you so much, Gita Mataji. And HG Mukund, as usual, very, very eloquent, very nice and clear English translations reading. Thank you so much. Okay, I will now just share my other presentation. Is Santosh Mataji here now? Not yet.
No, Prabhu.
I hope everything's okay with her. Maybe later on somebody can find out everything's okay, because it's very unusual for us to not log in. Okay, anyway, we're going to start this. This is a sharing. So we're going to continue our reading of this wonderful 18th chapter, the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. And as usual, we will start with the summary of the chapter, conclusion. That chapter is entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. And the chapter so far, and we're now almost 2/3 of the way down, I think. Oh, yeah, about 3/4 of the way, I think. So text 1 to 12 was a summary of the karma section, which is the first six chapters. Then 13 to 18, summary of Gyan section, which is the next 6 chapters. And then 19 to 40 talks a lot about the modes controlling all activities, and the this, well, just what we finished before was 41 to 48, freedom from the reactions about occupational work. And then this current session is actually taking us from the reaction-free work to Gyan Yoga to Brahman platform, and then ultimately to the pure devotional service. So that's where we are. And today we are on text 50. So we just start reciting that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 50. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tathapnoti nibodhame. Samasesnaiva kaunteya nishtha jnanasya ya para. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Purport. Pashapopa Ki Jai. Let me see how you can read the purport. I've got Bobby Dubey. I haven't seen that name before. Are you able to unmute yourself and read the purport, please?
The Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional stage simply by being engaged in his occupational duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. The actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. That is described in the following verses.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ajay Mukund Prabhu.
Hello, Prabhu.
Yes, sorry, Bobby
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhuji. I was on mute. Sorry, I was in another room. I can read in English now if you want me to.
Yes, if maybe we can just repeat that. Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry? I couldn't.
Yeah, so I think Ajay Mukund Prabhu read this purport already. So when we come to some other purports, some other text like translations, I'll call on you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, so Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. We'll just do the Mangalacharan now. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashyata Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the text itself is saying, O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfection stage, Brahman. So it says, obviously this is obviously continuing from the text 49, which was yesterday. It says, one who's achieved this perfection. So can anybody tell me what is Krishna referring to? What is this perfection?
Is it the renunciation, Prabhu?
Yes, so that's part of it. In the last text, actually, there are a few things that Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu must have covered. So
Is it self-realization, Prabhu? Self-realization?
yeah, exactly. The self-realization, there's self-control, unattached, disregarding material enjoyment. Yeah, so it's saying that is the highest perfection stage of knowledge. So then here it says, so learn from me how one can achieve this perfection and can attain the supreme perfection stage, Brahman. So see, these are stages. So initially we were talking about the perfection achieved by controlling our senses and renouncing and not being attached to sense gratification, etc., etc. Then once you practice that, you come to the stage of Brahman. And in the next few verses, Krishna is going to tell us how you're going to get to the stage of Brahman. But then Brahman, of course, as we know, we will discuss in a minute, it doesn't mean just one thing. So that's the next question. What is Brahman? Can anybody tell me what Brahman is?
Hare Krishna Mukunda-Hari Prabhu.
Yes, Parika Mataji.
Brahman is the one stage of realization that you are the spirit soul, you are not the body. Also, there is Brahman Jyoti, which is the impersonal aspect of Supreme Lord. Yeah, that our real identity, which is the Brahman is pure soul. This is my understanding.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Anybody else at a different angle?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Premila Mataji, yes.
The effulgent rays of the Lord.
Yes, okay. So
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. That stage of life when there is no hankering and no lamentation.
Yes. So Brahma, exactly. Brahma or Brahman is the same thing. So that is also like a stage. So that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma is one who has reached that stage. So, but basically, generally speaking, what the word Brahman means, the generic meaning of Brahman or even Brahma, it can sometimes will be written as with an N at the end, which Brahman, or it can also be just Brahma. Not Brahma. Brahma is Lord Brahma, but Brahma without the A, Brahma is also Brahman, same thing. And that generic meaning is spirit. So Brahman means spirit. So spirit is three things. God is spirit. His effulgence, as Puja Mataji mentioned, no, it was somebody else who mentioned before that about Brahma Jyoti. I think Premila Mataji mentioned that, Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti is also Brahman. And we, the living entities, are also Brahman. So because it generally refers to spirit. So you will find many verses actually in Bhagavad Gita where Brahman either is referring to God or is referring, especially if it's in connection with the three aspects of the Lord, right? So in connection with that, in that context, Paramatma, Bhagwan, that sort of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan realizations, there, if it's used in that context, it specifically means the Brahma Jyoti. But Brahman, in the eighth chapter, in the beginning, Arjuna is asking Krishna 8 questions. He says, what is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? What is Adi Bhuta? What is Adi Deva? What is Adi Yagya? And in the end, he says, where does Adi Yagya live? So the first question is, what is Brahman? And Krishna's reply to that, we won't cover the rest of them, but the first one for the Brahman, he says this indestructible living entity is called Brahman. So the indestructible living entity refers to all of us and also the Supreme Lord as well. and the Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is permanent. It's not destructible. When the whole world is annihilated, all the universe is annihilated, all the material world is annihilated, Brahma Jyoti doesn't get annihilated. So that's also. So this is important to know, because it's a very, very important word, this Brahman. And we must always look at the context when we are reading that word Brahman. So I thought we just clarify that. I know we've done this once before, but it's always good to repeat these important things. So, yeah, so basically what here the Lord is saying, that one, by practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, detached work, then we are in the mode of goodness, and we are in knowledge by that time. That we're not this body, we're completely, aware of our spiritual reality. And at that stage, then we attain the Brahman platform. Puja Mataji, Rupa Mataji mentioned Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmana Shochati Nakangshati, that 1854 that we'll come to soon. So that is that platform, the Brahman platform. That means it's a safe, self-realized platform. But for devotees, we don't remain on that platform. That platform is a very, very high achievement, but we need to go higher. We need to go to the pure devotion service. And this is where Krishna will lead us in the following verses. So that's that. And yeah, the three aspects of Brahma, of the Lord in 1 to 11. Anybody know this verse? Very famous verse. Vadanti tat, Sanskrit Vadanti tat. Anybody know that? There's a clue. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yas jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagvaniti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan. So it's non-dual, it's the same thing. It's not that it's split in three ways. No, it's the same absolute truth. But according to one's own realization, you recognize that as Brahman, or the personal sort of the super soul realization, all pervading Paramatma, or the ultimate, the complete realization is the Bhagwan realization, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what all of us, and this is what Prabhupada time and again says in his books, so many places, that this is the ultimate goal for all of us. Then Prabhupada in the purport continues, the Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional stage simply by being engaged in his occupational duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, of course, we speaking about occupational duty. When you speak about occupational duty, we can speak about it loosely in the current modern terms, in terms of occupation, of our occupation as a husband or a father, and those responsibilities, etc. But the deeper meaning, of course, is the Varnashram system, where the society was divided so neatly in 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams, and it worked perfectly. So in that occupational duty, if you perform that duty for the Supreme Lord, that is what Arjuna, Krishna is saying, is the highest perfection stage. And that in verse 3:9, Bhagavad Gita, it talks about how we have to perform our duties. There are a few verses saying this, but this is the one I picked up, about how to do our duty for the Lord. So, yagnatat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. It says, work done as sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So, Bobby Duboy, I'm not sure if the name is right. Perhaps you.
Yeah, that's me. I'm actually Sandeep Prabhu's son.
So you're using your son's, is it?
Oh no, I'm Sandeep Prabhu's son. This is my laptop.
Oh, I see. Yes, your laptop. So you are actually Sandeep Prabhu. You actually sound like your dad. So
yeah. So
Okay.
should I,
Yeah,
should I
Bobby,
start?
welcome to the chat groups. I haven't noticed your name before, so welcome. So are you able to, and the font is a little bit smaller there because I had to fit a little bit more than
Oh,
usual.
it's fine. I can read it
Okay,
probably.
perfect. If you can read that, please.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My humble obeisances. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage, for both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently and under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God.
Thank you so much, Bobby Prabhu. So such important words here, right? So as long as we can get ourselves into a state of mind to avoid our tendency for sense gratification, that is the beginning. Without that, we're not going to make any progress. Once that happens, then we can slowly, go towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord, which is our ultimate goal. That's what Prabhupada says all the time. And then, some more verses I thought about in terms of this this kind of theme. So 1, 2, 13. Ata pumbi dvija shreshtra varna shrama vibhagashaha swanuthistasya karmasya samsiddhir hari toshanam. Some of these verses I'm deliberately repeating so that we can get used to them. It's important. These are the verses that Prabhupada often quotes, so it's nice to repeat them ourselves and get used to reading them. So here it says, "Oh, best among the twice born, Dvija, twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to the caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead." And again, and there's a nice purport. This is just part of the purport that I picked up, and maybe I'll request this time. Can see.
Should I read from?
Sorry, yeah, who's this? Who spoke?
Bobby Prabhu.
Oh, Bobby Prabhu. Okay, yes, you can read again, sure.
Yeah. Human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are the intelligent caste, the material caste, the productive caste, and the laborer caste. These castes are classified in terms of one's work and qualification and not by birth. Then again, there are 4 orders of life, namely the student life, the householder's life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life, otherwise no social institution can grow in a healthy state, and each and every one of the above-mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead.
There you go. So see, it doesn't matter which varna or which ashram you're in. If the varna system is working properly, then every person in the system is making progress. It's progressing gradually and eventually reaching to the perfection stage of life. And going back to the purport, Prabhupada continues, one attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. So devotees, over the last few verses, we've heard, and in fact throughout the Bhagavad Gita and also lectures we hear this quite a lot, renouncing the result of our work. The whole of this chapter began with this question from Arjuna in the beginning. He's asking what is to be renounced, the work or what is sannyas and what is renunciation? The question was. And then Krishna's answer was that the work has not to be renounced, but the result, the fruits of the work have to be renounced. So can somebody tell me what your own understanding of what this means?
The result to be offered to Krishna?
Yes. Was that Kanta Mataji or Gita Mataji? Gita Mataji, right.
It was Kanta Mataji, but I was also going to say that it's not an instruction to go off into the hills and meditate. It's saying you must continue your duty. That's the remains on you, but you don't hanker after having a particular outcome of performing that.
That's a very good, very, very nice, Gita Mataji, very nice put, exactly. So it's not that we should, it's like if I say that, okay, we're going to announce the result of our work or the fruits of our work, then if the temple says to us now, everybody who goes for a job, when it's time for the paycheck, just say, no, I don't want it. We can't do that, of course, right? So the point is, the exact point Gita Mataji is making. Yes, we have to work, and we have to perform our duties or whatever, and we need to earn money to maintain our families and everything. But what we need to do is make sure that whatever money we are earning, we are not utilizing it for sense gratification, or we're not actually working harder and harder every day simply for improving our material life and sense gratification. So that we need to be careful about. We need to just make sure that yes, we're working, but the sense should be there that we are we don't want to overdo it, and whatever money comes, we'll use it wisely for Krishna's purpose and not for our sense gratification. Because everything ultimately is owned by the Lord, as we know, and He gives us temporary custodian of even our whether it's our property or whether it's our children or whether it's our spouses. We have to look at all that as a property of the Lord. So when we're earning, we have that mentality that, yes, Lord, I have to earn the money because I have to run your house, which belongs to you. I have to run the family, which you have temporarily given to me to look after, like that. So that mentality. In the Ishopanishad, the very first verse, Ishavashekam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita madrita kashasvit dhanam, says, that verse says that everything animate and inanimate within the world, within the universe, is controlled and owned by the Lord. Therefore, one should only accept those things which are necessary for him, and not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So just accept what's necessary for you in terms of maintaining your body and soul together, and the family, of course, and don't over endeavor. Don't over endeavor. This over endeavoring is called atyahara in the nectar of devotion or nectar of instruction. Updesh Amrit, the second verse, talks about atyahara prayasyasya. So in this material world, we are mad after just working hard, getting promotions, getting more and more money and all that. That is what is discouraged. We should not waste our life doing that, because what is due to us eventually will come to us. There is no doubt about it. So this reminded me about a story in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, where Prahlad Maharaj and some of his associates, they were traveling in the kingdom, and they came across on the bank of was it River Saraswati? I think River Saraswati. Yeah, on the bank of River Saraswati, they came across this saint. So this saint, you can see in this picture, he's lying there, just lying down, doing nothing. But he did look very saintly, and Prahlad Maharaj recognized just from his symptoms that he was not just some madman, he was a very, very saintly personality. So there you can see they stopped by him, they asked him some questions and saying that this is unusual. We haven't seen a saintly person like this. Actually, it says Prahlad Maharaj bowed down and touched his head on his feet, right? So certainly he recognized him not as a madman, but a very highly spiritual personality. And then said, wow, can you please explain why you're in this position? So this saint, he explains that I was living a normal life and I was mad after sense gratification and all that. And after living that, that life, I realized actually that there really is no happiness in this material world, because whatever happiness I got was very temporary. And then I realized that I actually should not be working like a donkey, and I need to meditate and just rely on whatever the Lord's arranged for me. That's it. So he would lie there, not even sit. He would just lie there, and whatever comes, he would accept. So he would say that sometimes the passers-by would give me a big feast, and I would enjoy that. Sometimes I would have nothing to eat, and I would carry on. So this is called, anybody know what the term for this particular state is? It's called Ajagar Vritti, Ajagar Vritti, Ajagar Niti. So, or sometimes Ajagar Vrata as well, because sometimes people take a vow like that. So in this case, this saint had taken a vow like that. So he's lying down, and just whatever comes, he takes. Otherwise, he just meditates on the Lord, trying to perfect his life. So this is, of course, not what we can do now. Yeah, actually, you can see the saint lying down there. He's quite hefty, right? And in fact, in one of the verses before this, in this chapter of the seventh canto, the words used are Kayam Pivanam. Kayam Pivanam actually means a fat body. Literally, his Prabhupada was translated that word Pivanam as fat. So he was quite chubby, you can see, quite healthy. So somehow he was managing to get enough food to sustain himself by not doing a thing. But having said that, okay, yes, it's India. In India, you would get that. In India, even today, I think there's so much respect for saintly people that my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, was saying that in the early days, that they used to just travel from village to village, and they never carried any food. They had, of course, no money. These are all sort of sannyasi traveling with a lot of brahmacharis. And whatever village they went to, people would just come and invite them to their homes for prasad, or bring them some prasad like that. So India like that. India is that. But here, if you lie down on the street, you'll be a beggar, and nobody will give you anything, or a few pennies perhaps. So yeah. The point is, yes, this is not we're advised to do in this day in life. We need to perform our duties, not just lying down, not this ajagar vritti, but we need to not worry too much about our maintenance, because Krishna has already arranged what's due to come to us, right? And just by working normally, we'll get what is due to us, because no matter how hard we work, what is not due to us will not come to us. We've seen that a lot of times. We see sometimes people working just a few hours a day, and they're making a lot of money. And sometimes people are working all hours, and they're still on small salaries or small income. So this is just the way of life. So this verse, so after in answer to Prahlad's question, this is what this saint is asking. Sukham asyatmano rupam sarveho paratis tanu manah samsparshajan trishva bhogan sapsyami samvishan. So the actual form of life for the living entities is not the spiritual happiness. Sorry, is one of spiritual. The actual form of life for the living entity is one of spiritual happiness. So Ananda Bhayo Bhyasat, Ananda Mayo Bhyasat. Ananda Mayo Bhyasat means that as civil soul, we are eternally happy. Our state actually is to be eternally happy. And that's why we're always hankering after happiness, but in the wrong place. In the material world, there is no happiness. Here he continues, this happiness can be achieved only when one stops all material activities. Material sense enjoyment is simply an imagination. Therefore, considering this subject matter, I have ceased from all material activities, and I'm lying down here. So it was quite interesting, this situation. So from this story, what we need to understand is that, yes, we can't imitate him, but we need to understand that, by working like a donkey is not going to help. We need to work enough, but spend the rest of our time and Lakshmi or resources to cultivate our spirituality. Couple of verses from the 15th chapter we recently read. They talk about how whatever's due to us, it comes with our mentality from the last time. So we carry our karma from the last life, and according to that, we will achieve whatever we have to achieve this time. So time is running away, so we'll just go to the English. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So this is transmigration. But each time you're carrying your luck with you, not your luck, your fate. Next verse says that the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. And thus he enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So you see, the amount of sense enjoyment we're going to have is already predestined. Same way, the amount of suffering we're going to have is already predestined. So we need to just keep that in mind and go easy in terms of just running after madness, about the rat race. Some more verses talking about what is the goal of our life, and this is what Krishna would speak about it in the following verses. 1, 2, 6, one of my favorite verses. Savaipum samparo dharma, Savaipum samparo dharmo yato tak bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki ya pratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. The supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. The self meaning the soul, the body, whichever way you look at it, but we need to get to that stage. And the purport, let's see if Bharti Ben, Bhagavati Mataji, perhaps you can read that.
In this statement, is that the one, yeah?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, everyone. In this statement, Sri Sutta Goswami answers the first questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. The sages asked him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called the Pravrti Marga, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called the Nivritti Marg, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhagavati Mataji. So you can see here that there's two marks, a Pravriti mark and Nivritti mark. So even Pravriti mark is a path. You see, we can't say that there's only Nivritti. Yes, Nivritti, we are all trying to do Nivritti mark, which is faster and more superior here, as I said. But the Pravriti mark is also a mark. The only thing is that will be much slower. As we were saying earlier, you'll have to keep taking many births until finally you come to a stage where you realize the Supreme Lord. So it is a very, very slow, painful path. And as we many times we have said, in this Kali Yuga, we need to make our way back as soon as possible because things are going to get increasingly bad. Then just the last part of the purport, Krishna says that the actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. So again, a beautiful verse here to second canto, chapter 1, text 6. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janma Labha Para Pumsa Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupation duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead. So everything that we are doing in Krishna consciousness, the whole society is called Krishna consciousness, is to keep our consciousness in Krishna throughout our life, and in that way, at the end of life, we will remember him. And that is the perfection. Antakala chamameva smaran mukpa kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nashyata sanshaya. In the 8th chapter, text 5, Krishna says, anybody who thinks of me at the time of leaving his body will come back to me. So this is the spiritual perfection. there's a purport here, which maybe we can get. I'm just going down fast. See, okay, Joli Mataji, perhaps you can read this.
Hare Krishna. There are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Sanakadi rishis or the 9 celebrated yogindras, who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. None of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the jnanis or yogis. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity, and is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayana Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Joy Mataji. So you can see this particular just little paragraph, it actually encapsulates the whole philosophy of ISKCON, Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This is what we are all aiming for. And it talks about the 4 Kumaras and Navayogendras. So they were yogis not in the personal path. But in the case of the 4 Kumaras, just by smelling the breeze carrying the aroma of the tulsi leaf from the lotus feet of Vishnu, they became personal devotees. They came on the personal path, and that was their success. And similar with Navayogendras. So you can see, but the important point here with what I've underlined here is that we hear many stories of this type of where devotees who are impersonal, but finally by the mercy of the devotees and by the grace of the Lord, they came to the personal path, to the path of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. But we don't hear of anybody going the other way. He says, none of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the jnanis and yogis. So you can see that when we truly find this path, we never want to leave. Bhakti Charu Maharaj often used to say, sometimes when people would talk about different paths, he would say that I have been in this path for 40 years and I have not yet found anything better. And he said once that if you find something better and you convince me that it's better than this, then I will leave ISKCON. This is how much faith he had in the fact that this is the perfect path. So devotees, I was coming up to 1:45, so I will stop now. Thank you so much. I will stop sharing and I'll invite any comments, questions, realizations, corrections.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, and pranam. Prabhuji, Ante Narayam Smriti is also either the holy name or visual image, isn't it?
Yes.
Like Bhishmadeva or like Ajamil, it could be either or both.
Yeah, thank you, Hema, for raising that. It could be either or. And the main thing to remember is that once you are at that stage, for us, there's no difference between Nam and Nami. No difference between the name of the Lord. It's all the same, right?
Yes.
So right now, we know that theoretically, isn't it? When we're chanting, we often say that when you're chanting the name, the Lord is dancing on your tongue. We know that, but we don't actually, I'm talking about myself, maybe you have, but myself, I don't have that realization yet, But when you're at the higher stage, then you will see there's no difference. You actually, by chanting his name, you are going to be enjoying the bliss of being with him.
Yes, that's nice. Yes, so both. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hema Mataji. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jolly Mataji.
It's about renunciation versus sense enjoyment. the two things I can't remember what it's called. Renunciation got a name to it, and sense enjoyment got another name. Previous.
Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga.
Yes, I couldn't say that, sorry. So however, now that one, does that mean if you renounce, you're not allowed to have, what does the sense enjoyment mean? Does it mean you just solely think, because if you renounce, it means you give up the sense enjoyment.
Yes.
However, you can enjoy through your senses, surely, even when you renounce, couldn't you? That's what I'm stuck with.
Yeah, no, good. Joli Mataji, if I can understand your question, you're saying that, yes, you are giving up self-gratification, but you're saying that, yes, but the senses are still there. So they cannot be void.
That's right.
So the senses have to still, they need that nourishment. But by giving them the spiritual nourishment, we are giving them the higher taste. So this is the difference. You see, our philosophy is so practical in this sense, Joli Mataji, that in other philosophies, some yogis and jnanis, their philosophy is that you have to give up sense gratification, full stop. You have to kill your senses. And that, as we all know, is not possible, impossible.
That's right, yeah.
As long as you're alive, your senses are there. So by diverting our senses to the higher taste, param drishtva nivartate, by giving our senses the higher taste. The example I always give is if we are fond of chocolate, we will go and have the Maha sweets, Mangala sweets, and that will give us a higher taste, and it'll be easier to give up the chocolate. Similarly, if you're fond of listening to music, listen to kirtan. How much sweetness there is there. If you're so it's like this, if you're fond of eating nice, tasty things, eat prasadam. So much, amazing nectar in prasadam, apart from just the taste. So like that, as long as we feed our senses the higher taste, the spiritual taste, then we can renounce the lower taste, and that way we are working in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very good. I can taste the sweet taste straight away. Thank you. You explained it so well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Okay, I've got Sailesh Prabhu, or maybe Hema Mataji, one of them saying, Prabhuji mentioned that suffering is predestined. Would Krishna conscious reverse the predestined? Yes, that's a good point, Shailesh Prabhu or Hema Mataji. Yes, so yes, it is said that you have your karma, which comes with you, and you have to definitely suffer or enjoy it. That's how it is. But it is said that when we do pious activities, we can make some changes to that karma, right? So in the Nectar of Instructions, I believe, it is explained that by doing pious activities, by helping the poor, by building hospitals and doing all those very, very nice things, give lots of donations and all that, that can stop the reactions. That can stop our reactions, sort of the prarabdha, so whatever was about to happen to us, that can be killed by that. But the roots still remain. The roots still remain. And as soon as you give it a chance, it's like our gardens nowadays, right? As soon as you leave it 3 or 4 weeks, and those weeds will just keep coming up. So same way, though, because the roots remain, those reactions again will keep coming up, right? But by devotional service, by chanting the names of the Lord, but by acting in Krishna consciousness, it is said that that is the only process which removes our the roots of our karmic reaction. It completely removes them so that they don't grow again. There's a verse in the
Tapatraya Unmunal.
Yes, exactly. So that's actually in the second verse of the Bhagavatam, first canto, second verse. The Tapatraya, exactly those activities, they uproot the roots of misery. But there's another one, the 16 in the sixth canto, chapter 1, text 15, which it doesn't come to mind now, but that talks about that.
There's another one, so 1.1.2, Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo.
Yes.
Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Astravastu Shivadam Tapatraya Unmulanam.
Yes, Tapatraya. So threefold miseries are vanquished by that. Thank you very much. I'm just looking up that verse in the 6th canto. It's a very important verse. So let me just quickly have a look at that, because that's a nice verse to also remember. I can get to it quickly. It's 6.1.15, if I'm not mistaken. 6.1, 10, 14. Yeah, let me just see now. Yes, it is. So it says, Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agam Dhunvanti Kasyena Niharam Eva Bhaskara. So it says, only a rare person who has adopted the complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful reactions with no possibility of that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as a sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. That's the answer to your question, Hema Mataji.
Very powerful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nicely explained. Thank you.
Sorry, Prabhuji, what was the verse number?
So it's 6.1.15.
6.1.15. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So,
unfortunately, Prabhuji, those who are not in Krishna consciousness, the material education teaches everybody to move upwards, social mobility, socioeconomic mobility. So it's like endeavoring very hard to rise from whatever social status you are to higher status, and people are working like donkeys for sense. And in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, they are doing Artha and Kama. They have forgotten Dharma and Moksha.
Yes, but Rupa Mataji, even they do come to Dharma, they're still on the wrong path. They will be on the Dharma, on the path of just liberation. They just want liberation, and they're not still thinking about the Supreme Lord.
And also, yes, Prabhuji, and also liberation nowadays means, I'm free to drink, I'm free to do whatever I like with my money, I'm free to do this, I'm free to do that. That is liberation.
Exactly, absolutely, yes. But
yes,
our liberation, our funny thing is the ironical statement is that our true liberation comes when we surrender our material liberation to Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you so much. Was there any other comments, anybody?
Hare Krishna Mukunda-Hari Prabhu. Please accept my
Hare Krishna.
Earlier you mentioned about Narayana Smriti, because we know that Narayana is in the heart. You mentioned that when we really chant purely, then we know that Krishna is dancing in our heart. So why is it mentioned Narayana? That's our goal is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So can you please elaborate that? Thank you.
No, thank you for raising that. In that particular verse, sometimes it's contextual, because if it's Lord Brahma speaking to Lord Narayan, then it talks like that, right? But then what we need to also always remember that Narayana or Vishnu or Krishna for us is the same, right? It's different. It's Krishna himself, like often devotees explain that Krishna at home is Krishna in Vrindavan. Krishna in the office is Narayan or Vishnu in Vaikuntha, like that. But it's the same personality.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Gita Mata just put a question here, or maybe comment. It says, our true liberation comes when we surrender our... Okay, sorry. This is repeating what I just said. Yeah.
I really like that.
Thank you, Gita Mataji. Yeah. So you see, it's a contradiction. To be liberated, we need to surrender. Normally people say, I want to be liberated. I don't want to be under anybody. But no, our true freedom comes from surrendering to Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Seema Mataji.
I just wanted to share a realization regarding to today's topic. Like we were talking earlier, Mataji asked that if we come into Krishna consciousness, so our suffering becomes less, or they just get rid of. So my realization is, like in day-to-day life, if I had any problem, I used to like get worried or get sad because of adverse situations. But since I came into Krishna consciousness, whenever any difficulty comes to me, I just think of Krishna, and I just either accept that, okay, this is Krishna's wish. That's why I'm getting this. So I'm happy because it's Krishna's wish. And or otherwise, I just think, okay, if there is anything, I don't have to worry. I just think of Krishna and he will handle it. So my problems, my sadness, my worries, they just go automatically. And it gives me much, much less pain or no pain at all. So I just think coming to Krishna consciousness takes the worries in this way. Maybe the situation is same, but we don't get distressed. So that's how I take it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Seema Mataji. But that is exactly the position that we need to be in. Because in this material world, these tap, the miseries will be there. It is said that the miseries are compulsory, but suffering is optional. So in your case, you've chosen to just let it go, let Krishna handle it, and not suffer, right?
Yeah.
The
Yes,
other way is to dwell on the problem and try and sort it out ourselves with so much effort, and still nothing happens, and we just get ourselves into more and more depressed state. So exactly right. When something is going on, leave it to Krishna. Okay, pray that he can sort it out for you, but don't expect him to sort it out for you as we think. Krishna has different ways of doing things. So, but like you say, trust in him that he will do the best for us. That's it.
Yes, even sometimes, like just thinking of Krishna, it gives us so much time, and Krishna gives us some idea to come out of the situation. So
Yeah.
Krishna always helps, I think.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Such a nice thought, because the weight lifts off your chest when you're in that mood. You know, when you react like that, the weight just goes off your chest. And Krishna, like you say, Krishna makes the arrangement. Sometimes what happens is there's a problem, and this person is trying this. You see what happens. Generally speaking, people don't have complete faith. They will pray to Krishna, but at the same time, they will still wreck their brain about sorting it out. And then finally, they get an idea and they sort it out. So what they will do, they will say, oh, I finally got the idea and I sorted it out. Krishna, you did not help. But Krishna did. Krishna did send him the help. Krishna did whatever situation that gave him that idea. Krishna arranged it. But they don't think about it like that, right? But devotees would certainly realize that, yes, if that thought came to me, if even if somebody came to help me, that person was sent by Krishna.
Yes, that's the belief.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
the belief, and we should always have this belief.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Seema Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mukunda-Hari. I have the same thing as Seema Mataji has expressed. Krishna is there. Krishna is very personal. Like Mataji that day, she was giving the class, because she said, I bought this picture many years ago. I was looking for Krishna, and I didn't know who Krishna was. She said, I got this picture, blue boy, and I was carrying with it, and eventually she had the, yes, Krishna is personal. He's the one, he made me, take that calendar, bring it with me, and then realize it's just, it goes over the stages. Eventually, that it was Krishna who was, helped me to get this picture, because he had some, knowledge for me to understand it. So stage by stage, like Seema Mataji said, stage by stage, you really understand everything what's happening in your life. It's Krishna. That is so personal. And once we have that realization, we have no fear. No matter who said what, it doesn't matter. It's Krishna. Everything for my benefit. This is happened for me to realize more about Krishna. It's such a wonderful, relief from all the miseries that, like you mentioned, that it's not, realize that it is Krishna. It's all our suffering goes once we realize that. It's such a wonderful feeling. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. Yes, I also was listening to that Mataji from Germany, right? She was the one who get that class.
Yes, true, yeah.
Very nice class, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay, devotee, sorry, it's 9 o'clock.
Hey, Krishna Prabhuji, I'd like to add to that.
Yes.
I actually experience that when I misplace things, for instance, important papers or anything like that. I just call Krishna's name. I look to Krishna. I don't beg for anything because it's not a good thing to beg. And Krishna it sort of comes right in my face like magic.
Yeah.
I'm no joke, and I've looked before in the same place. I've turned things upside down, and there it is looking at me, like Krishna is looking at me. So I think that is so much in it, that we ignore. Krishna is there for us. He opens his heart. He has us in his heart. But do we have him in our heart?
No.
That's
exactly.
the main thing we got to think about.
Very good point. Very, very good point. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your experiences and realizations. And yes, the more we rely on Krishna, the more we will be free from stress. And that automatically fuels us to more faith in Krishna and more devotional service. So it's like a self-fulfilling cycle, So
yes, I agree totally. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, devotees, 9 o'clock. So thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Namo Namah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful session. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, everyone.